Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. Let's go ahead and get into this. So the last couple of days from Giants fans, from the Giants community, it's just been a bunch of woe is me. We're the worst team in the league. We can't protect anybody. We're going to be picking #1 overall. Brian Dable's going to get fired. He's Ben McAdoo part 2. Just all of just the weirdest narrative that I've seen. First off, we went against a better team. We went against a better team. We did not come. We did not bring our A game, B game, or C game. We brought our F game. We played worse pretty much across the board for everybody. And that's what happens. You don't come ready to play, and an avalanche starts, and just things are going to go bad, and they're going to continue to go bad. And it was just a horrible game. But we're moving on because this week is the best. I mean, the best kind of get right game that you could possibly have because the Cardinals are one of the, I mean, they arguably are the worst team roster wise in the league. And I mean, Cardinals fans may disagree, but I'm pretty sure a lot of objective Cardinals fans would probably agree. This is not a team that the Giants should say we just can't compete with them because our line is so bad or anything like that. This is a team that, we should be able to beat if a guy like Andrew Thomas misses a game. We should be able to beat if a guy like Azeez Ojulari, who's on the injury report, misses the game. I just don't see, um, I just don't see that insurmountable kind of thing that some Giants fans are seeing for this week. So, without any further ado, I just want to get right into their roster, how a little bit of how they performed last week, and we'll have fun here. So, 210 total yards this past week on offense against Washington. 4 for 14 on third down, 3.8 yards per carry. I'm pretty sure that if I can take an extra look here, Josh Dobbs was 21 for 30. He threw the ball 30 times, had 132 yards. This is not a juggernaut of an offense. This is not an offense that even scored points. And look at me, haha, I'm a Giants fan. We scored no points, period, last week. But this is not an offense that scored a touchdown either way. So whoever scores a touchdown next week first is going to be the first touchdown on offense that either one of these two teams have scored. So not a juggernaut. Looking at their O-line for PFF, take that with a grain of salt. I took a look at their line, and they did have some struggles, but PFF has them graded out. DJ Humphries, their left tackle, at 47, and this is out of 100 people. Elijah Wilkinson at 30. They got their center Froholt at 46. Will Hernandez at 75.9, which was their best offensive line grade by far, and he looked pretty solid on tape. And then Paris Johnson Jr., the rookie tackle, was a 52, but also Paris Johnson Jr. didn't give up a He didn't give up a sack or a quarterback hit, so that's also something to notice. So that's why I always say I take PFF with a grain of salt. But their offensive line is by no means a wall. It's not some dominant line that ran the ball extremely well or protected well. Like I said, 3.8 yards a carry. They were in that game all day. They could pretty much play straight up. It wasn't like they were trying to come back from an insurmountable lead. So that's pretty much how their offensive line is looking so far. Let's take a look at how I think our defensive line will show up. And all we need is Dex. I think Dexter Lawrence himself on the defensive line can wreck this game. I think Leonard Williams outclasses them, but sometimes Leonard Williams has a tendency to disappear. So Dex is going to show up, I know for a fact. Kayvon Thibodeau, I think he really showed up in the run game last week. He didn't really have much opportunity to pin his ears back and go after quarterback. And he's going against a guy, DJ Humphries, that I think he should have a favorable matchup. So maybe this is a game that you see Dex and Kayvon Thibodeau do their thing. Azeez Ojulari is questionable, which is, or I don't think they've released an official thing yet, but Azeez Ojulari was limited in practice or held out of practice because of his hamstring, which is a shame because shout out to LSU. But BJ Ojulari, Aziz's younger brother, is playing this week against them, and hopefully they get to play against each other. But either way, I really think that Thibodeau, Dex, and Leo are enough to be able to deal with this offensive line. Jihad Ward, of course, is going to fill in. I just don't think there'll be a huge drop-off as far as us really, really needing Azeez Ojulari or we're going to lose the game. Um, Moving on to their weapons, they got Marquise Brown, they got Rondale Moore. So these are two guys that can make plays. These are two guys that, if they have the right quarterback around them, if they have things going good for them, they also got the rookie Michael Wilson, who I like coming out. But if they have some guys there, I think this receiving core is functional. But there's not the same thing with the Giants. There's not a dominant number one, and you also have to consider who's throwing them the football, which I'll get to in a little. But you also have James Conner and Keontae Ingram, which I think is a solid running back room, 1-2 punch. They ran a little wildcat a couple of times with Keontae Ingram, but they do some creative things in the run game. It was Keontae Ingram back there along with Rondale Moore, who is a short guy who's fast, who's elusive, who's got compared to Steve Smith coming out. So he's a guy, he can make some plays. They're going to throw him a lot of screens. They're going to throw him a lot of short passes. They're going to try to get him in space. And it's the Giants' job to tackle, which I'm confident in. I believe our two rookies are really good at being physical at the line of scrimmage. I thought they both played well for the most part against a guy like Brandon Cooks, who you can say is kind of comparable to a Marquise Brown and a Rondale Moore. And then as far as Michael Gallup, I mean, they did really well against him. So also Adoree Jackson may be on I was going to say Wandale Moore. That's our guy, Wandale Robinson. But Adoree Jackson is probably going to spend some time on Rondale Moore. So I'm not really concerned about the receiving core as far as a matchup. Now, we do have two rookies. It is going to be their second ever game, but last week they looked solid. Um, they looked good in coverage. No matter what the score was, the receivers were running routes. They were trying to get open, and our corners were not letting them get open on a consistent basis at all. So I'm not worried about that. Now, James Conner and Keontae Ingram, I believe if they get some space, they can do some damage, but I don't really think they'll have enough space because our interior of the defensive line is very similar uh, to Washington's defensive line, two dominant defensive tackles. I just don't see them having the edge right there. So taking a look at their tight ends, Trey McBride is a guy I think has a lot of upside. Zach Ertz is kind of their number one tight end. He got targeted 10 times this past week. So he's obviously the guy that Dobbs feels most comfortable with. 10 times, but only caught it, I think, 6 times for 21 yards, which is not very good for any type of receiving position. To only have 21 yards on 6 catches. So without any further ado, let's look at Dobbs. Let's look at Dobbs. And Josh Dobbs is a guy that Giants fans are terrified of. He's a guy that they think that he's going to beat the Giants. And I mean, no disrespect, and I'm sure Cardinals fans can understand. Josh Dobbs has 2 career touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Josh Dobbs has about a 500 yards career passing. He's coming off of a 100 and something yard passing game. He's not a guy that is going to carve your defense up. He has not even proven that he can do that. He's going to throw a bunch of quick passes. He's going to throw a bunch of screens. And they're going to try their best to hide his deficiencies as much as possible because he's not a starting quarterback in the league. He's just not. And I just don't see him being able to give us much issues. I think if we can put pressure on him, which Washington ended up doing at the end of that game last week, and once they started getting pressure on him consistently, he just kind of folded apart. Looking at Wink, I think Wink is going to treat Josh Dobbs sort of like a rookie quarterback because he's not a rookie. He's been in the league like 4 or 5 years. He's been a backup, but he does not have a ton of NFL snaps as a starter. He just doesn't have those snaps under his belt. And I really think that Wink is going to be able to confuse him and really send guys after him and make things happen on defense just from a scheme perspective. So Josh Dobbs to me is not a guy that I'm really scared of. And I think we may see Clayton Tune. I just have a feeling that Clayton Tune will probably get in this game because Josh Dobbs is not against Wink. So let's take a look at their defense. And I wanted to start off with the defensive line. So the Cardinals got 6 sacks last week. And I'll kind of address this. I have a clip that I'm gonna add in here, but they got 6 sacks last week. They've got a nice, decent rotation. They've got Dennis Gardeck, who got 2 sacks last week. They've got Zaven Collins, a guy who's a linebacker, and now he's going to finally be a full-time edge. They also have B.J. Ojolari, who I mentioned. So they got some solid guys on their line, but I don't think I don't think these guys are ready to deal with the run game, and I don't really see them as dominant every snap pass rushers either. I think their linebackers, their outside linebackers, are going to be a little bit undersized, and I think we're going to be able to run the ball right at them. But on top of that, the sacks that they did get weren't too impressive for the most part. I would say maybe two were like straight up sacks. The rest were kind of Sam Howell. So let's take a look at a couple pass rush plays now. So taking a look at the Cardinals pass rush this past week, they definitely had 6 sacks. They definitely got the sacks, but also it's kind of important to recognize that Sam Howell did not do a good job at all of evading the rush or even giving his line a chance for him not to be sacked a couple of plays. So this is going to be the first play where we're just going to let this play. Sam Howell is in the pocket. He's there, and then he just runs forward into a sack. I would say this next play is even more frustrating from a commander's point of view and looking at Sam Howell. And this is a Cardinals preview video, but Sam Howell plays a part in the Cardinals pass rush this game. So this is even more frustrating. He's there and he's looking, it looks like he's looking right at the bull rush, but I guess he's not paying attention to it. He's completely flat footed and he's just standing there like he has all day. Clearly, clearly, there's an avenue for him to just slide this way, or maybe Tony Romo spin back this way. Anything but what he does, which is nothing. And he just gets his legs taken out there. So this last of the 3 videos is not Sam Howell's fault at all that he got sacked, but he does have to do a better job holding on to the ball. But let's just let this play. This is a beautiful move. It's coming from Gordek, coming off the right side of your screen. Technically, he's not in the camera yet, but you're going to see him engage with this right tackle, number 71, just spin smooth past him and just cause just a huge play and get the only touchdown the Cardinals had. So just an awesome spin move right there from Gordek. Right there, Sam Howell's trying to escape. He's loose with the ball. He's holding the ball way away from his body. And just him getting hit there caused the ball to come out and gets the Cardinals touchdown. So that'll wrap up the defensive line. I really think Evan Neal is going to bounce back. I think that Glowinski is going to bounce back. I'm not going to say they're going to dominate because we haven't shown that they can dominate anybody so far. But I do think they're going to play better than they did last week. And I think the middle of our line and the left side, whether Andrew Thomas plays or not, I think they will all be solid enough for us to run our offense against this Cardinals defensive line. And hopefully we can get healthier. We can get AT back if he doesn't play this week against San Francisco. But as of now, I don't see our offensive line not being like I don't see our offensive line ruining the game and losing us the game. I just don't see that happening. So moving on to Kazir White is a linebacker that I'll highlight. He's a guy that followed Gannon over from Philly, so he knows the defense. He's going to be playing fast. Those linebackers in general on tape, they play with their hair on fire. They play very fast. They play at 1,000,000 miles per hour. They are filling gaps, but sometimes they also overrun plays, which I see as a benefit. Especially we're going to be running our RPO. We're going to be running some option. So I really see their speed as a strength because they're going to be getting places quickly, but it also can be a weakness because our offense has a ton of misdirection in it. And if those linebackers are running the wrong way, we could be making some big plays in the run and pass game. So that's the linebacking core, led by Kazir White. Very fast, very physical. They're hitting out there. You know they're hitting. You saw them last week. They're not playing around. Gannon said what he was looking for, and they're showing up. So I think this is a Saquon Barkley game. I really think this is a Saquon Barkley game. He averaged almost 5 yards per carry. That first drive, he was really getting the ball and running with it. He did not get enough carries for me. He hasn't gotten enough carries this past Dallas game and the Eagles game before that. So I really think this is the game that they lean back on Saquon Barkley to run the ball 20 plus times this game. I think he's going to have a huge game and show us why he should have been paid or why he's one of the top running backs in the league. I think this is a Saquon Barkley game. So this is a perfect time to kind of highlight Underdog Fantasy, a sponsor on the channel. And Saquon Barkley is his higher or lower number this week is 99.5 total yards. I think he's going to blow that out of the water. I think he might have over 100 yards rushing by itself. And then I think he'll have a couple of catches. So this is a perfect time to get involved. If you use code Diggy on Underdog Fantasy, they'll match you up to $100. If you put in 100, they'll give you 100. If you put in 50, they'll give you 50. So jump into the pick'em side of Underdog Fantasy and get involved, because this is probably a game that you want to be picking some of the hires over some of the lower options for the Giants, because this is one of the few times that I can look at this team and say the Giants really should be head and shoulders above. So taking a look at some of the secondary players on the Cardinals, it's more of the same. They let Byron Murphy go, who was probably their one guy who you can say, this is a really good corner. He went to the Vikings, and the Vikings didn't look good this past Sunday. But the major guy to worry about in this secondary is going to be Budda Baker. Now, the other corners and the other safeties, they don't really worry me. But Budda Baker is a playmaker. He's a guy that can be that guy that gets that interception and takes it back for a touchdown, or a guy that forces that fumble. So Budda Baker is a star player. He's a guy that and when I say star player, I mean you draw a star on him on tape, and you draw a star on him with your eyes in real life, and make sure you know where he is at all times, because he's the one guy on this defense. He's the best player on this defense, and he might be the best player on their team. He's that one guy that can really, take over the game at his position of safety. So Budda Baker is a guy. As far as the rest of their secondary, people were running open a lot. Sam Howell just didn't find them sometimes. Sometimes he just kind of held the ball and made the decision too late. Terry McLaurin had a chance for a long touchdown. Sam Howell just waited so long to throw the ball. It just didn't happen. So I think there will be options to throw the ball. But going back to Underdog, Daniel Jones is higher or lower this year, or this week, is 200 or somewhere around 208 yards. He may be under that, because he may not get that, because I just really think we're going to run the ball. I think we're going to be able to really, really run the ball effectively, and Daniel Jones will be able to just kind of coast through this, maybe use his legs a little bit. He may have a couple of passing touchdowns, but above that, I think we're going to really have success running the ball against this team. Not that we can't throw it, but the safer way is always to run the ball. If you can run the ball against a team, you're going to be successful that game. No need to take any unnecessary risk about a ball bouncing up in the air. There's no reason to do anything like that. So I would go lower on Daniel Jones's passing yards for this week. But if we do need to pass the ball, and if we do decide to, I think we'll be able to do that effectively. Now, to wrap this up, I think this is going to be a very, very straightforward game. I think we'll show that we're the better team immediately and throughout the game. Only thing I'll mention is the guy that I may have kind of glossed over, but may be a factor in this game, is Matt Prater. Now, Matt Prater has a rocket leg. Matt Prater has a rocket leg, and if for some reason the Giants stumble over themselves and they turn the ball over 4 times, and the Cardinals are in it at the end and they need a field goal, all Dobbs in that offense is going to have to do is make it to the 40 or a little bit past that, and Matt Prater might be able to hit a 60, 62, 63, 64-yard field goal. So keep your eye on that, but I don't think that'll be a factor in this game. And to give it a score prediction, you guys leave your score predictions in the comment section if you made it this far. Let me know you made it this far, and let me see your score prediction. But to give a score prediction, I'll say the Giants 27, the Cardinals 9. I think they'll put together 3 drives where they get field goals, but I don't think they'll get in the end zone. Giants 27, Cardinals 9. Let's get ready for this Sunday. It's going to be a great game to bounce back. The Giants fans can reset. Nothing to get too excited for, because this is a team that is in the first year of their rebuild. They're not a talented team at all. But I think this will leave a better taste in our mouths than what we saw this past Sunday, which was a disgusting performance. So you guys let me know what you're thinking of this upcoming game. Hopefully I gave you a little bit more context for this Cardinals game. So see you then in the stream. You made it this deep into the video. Come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.